Hello and welcome to this CodeBuddies.org live code hangout. Today we're going to be doing some office hours for an open source project called CiviWiki. Get my tabs open and everything. CiviWiki is a platform designed to help people have constructive dialogue and debate around important issues. The platform and project have been stalled for a little bit. Development, our last release was in 2019. We're trying to kind of reboot the project, build community around it. We've got several issues, many of which are good first issues, and some of that have been taken up by community volunteers. And I'm going through those today. I'm going to see if we can help the people who have agreed to take those tasks get a little bit further along the road. So I just need to do some kind of project stewardship activities here. And maybe a little bit of code today, but hopefully the other contributors will take up the code. This office hours is part of a CodeBuddies.org hangout. I'll try to have these office hours, that way they're participatory. People can come in and ask questions, or the contributors can get assistance, or maybe we could even start planning the project continuation roadmap collectively. So I have several notifications relating to CiviWiki right now, so I'm going to just go through this top to bottom and add this boilerplate message really quick. Oh, that's different. Okay, so essentially, I'm just going to repeat this message linking to this CodeBuddies hangout, so the contributors might get a notification. And then we're going to go through each of these again and add salient parts of the code. Different project. I've already notified them, but just for consistency, I'm going to leave these tabs open anyway. And we might even get to some pull request review today. Great. It looks like my streaming bitrate is pretty low. I'm streaming directly from the Hangout. That's really not acceptable quality. Oh, there we go. Now it's coming in. The text is legible. Okay. So maybe the encoding is able to produce a high resolution video with low bitrate. I don't know. Using just the built-in Jitsi Meet live stream functionality. You can see here this CodeBuddies. Whoa. Hang out here. I might actually pull that one off to the side here. Great. I'm also monitoring the YouTube live chat. So if anyone watching has any questions or comments or would like to get involved with this project, feel free to speak up. And you can also feel free to join this Hangout session. All right, I've got chat up for both. Excellent. Testing. 1, 2. Okay, looks like we're audio it seems to be registering. All right, just was checking the audio settings in the Hangout. All right, so this first one, it was originally a request for comments. I made it a couple months ago. Didn't receive many comments. So I think generally the proposal is to just really simplify the code base. The overarching goal of this milestone 2.0, just for reference, is several sweeping changes. We're going to simplify the CiviWiki architecture and code base down to just like my idea of the core features. On this project has been dormant for a long time, so again, we're trying to reboot it. And one of the major hurdles that the project has, and I think that kind of contributed to its dormancy, was it started to get overly complex and taking on features that integrated third-party data, and in that third-party data source, one of them was shut down and never quite got migrated to another one. These data sources were United States centric, so that the code didn't really apply to most people in the world, and made CiviWiki of limited relevance at all. To whether or not it's in current or active use was another question. Just it's limited its potential relevancy. And I think those kind of integrations, they were good in spirit and wanting people to engage in the political process in the United States, but I think it missed the point of actually direct democracy and encouraging civil discourse around these political and social issues that we're confronted with. And the nature of a wiki and a CiviWiki would be more along the lines of either communicating or sharing knowledge. And the core features I believe that were designed are the idea of a CiviWiki is it's kind of a mild debate. There's problems, proposals of solutions, rebuttals, and so it's a discourse. It's a communication platform. So when we bake in features relating and creating these third-party data, I think it extended it beyond its means and to an unsustainable level of complexity. So we're going to refactor. We're going to remove technical debt, third-party dependencies. We're going to upgrade things to the latest Django LTS. Try to make it really easy for people to contribute and get a development environment started. That was another problem, that even just getting a development environment, you have to have several large kind of heavyweight dependencies: Redis, Postgres. You need to get a Google Maps key, an API key for the other third-party integrations. There's just several stumbling blocks that make it very, that's one of the earliest, I think most common ways that contributors churn is when they're just trying to even get a development environment set up. Can't get past that block, and it's a little bit, what's the word? Well, it's defeating. So, okay. That's what this RFC is going to remove, these elected representatives. This is United States elected representatives from ProPublica and previously the Sunlight API. We're just going to wholesale remove that feature. We've got a volunteer who's working on related code who decided to try and take this in stride. we're going to overall, we're going to re-architect the CiviWiki code so it's following more conventional Django file structure. We're going to remove this complicated single-page app that was designed with Backbone and JavaScript. I think overall, single-page apps aren't really necessary for many, if not most, projects of this size of CiviWiki. We can start off with server-side rendering just with Django templates, for example. There's actually some really nice contemporary projects that give you a single page app like functionality with dynamic content in the spots that are dynamic and static content elsewhere. One of those is Django Unicorn. So it's kind of like basically Ajax. We're using, I guess you can call it boring technology, just kind of stuff that's been around for a while, that's mature, that's still under active development and use. It's not under constant churn. It's backwards compatible. And I've got Juhi Lee here, has kind of given, she's one of the core contributors and basically has already kind of taken the initiative and helped me flesh out this milestone. So right now we've got a milestone, 2.0 milestone, in progress, and we're just going forward with it. I know it's sweeping, and we don't have an explicit agreement on some of the changes, but there is willingness in the community to help us pull those over the line. The code will be there historically. If we want to come back to this, revisit it, we'll be able to get the code from the Git history. So that said, let's continue down the road. So I'm going to look on how to move accounts into their own Django app. I'm just going to point to the code today and see about helping Black Panda or whomever to refactor each of our code bases. Black Panda. We've got similarly legislation and elected representatives. They're kind of two sides of the same coin. This one on, the 01 has agreed to take this one on. Sorry if I'm butchering these GitHub usernames. And here's the location field. So we're going to refactor the accounts. Actually, this is a little bit of overlap. Location fields. Just cross-referencing. So we have legislation. I'll just kind of group these up tabs. And another thing is, and this is kind of what I'm aiming for here, is to point to the specific code, but we had this beta functionality. And the original CiviWiki project was designed as like not a generic open source, but it was actually as a platform that people would come to and visit, which had open source code available for contribution. So there was a beta while the thing was under development, and frankly, it's still under development, even though we've reached a 1.0 milestone. So we're going to, and this beta code has been, I think, disabled, but not removed. So we're going to just clean that up, a little bit of technical debt. So these are the main areas where we've got mentorship. I just need to make sure I'm labeling these correctly, because that way it'll make it easier for me to find in the future. Okay. So Black Pandan. Might not need a lot of help here, but let's go ahead and point to the relevant files. So this is also an opportunity for me to familiarize myself with the code. We're going to be deprecating a lot of the REST endpoints, or to some degree preserving them, but switching back to like a monolithic structure. And a lot of these are just bespoke code anyway. If we're going to use REST, I believe we should be using the Django REST framework. It's more conventional. All right, so the model itself we need. So wait, this is already sort of separated out, but okay. So I need the account models. Let me find. It's a little bit tricky. In our API, we're using Django REST framework. Or just to shadow the enforce CSR, to disable CSR. If I think there's another way of doing that. Huh. Yeah, I think this is not simply removing, but we're actually going to have to create an app. And where's our user model? Is it using the core user model? It says, I'll have to find that. I hope this isn't making the issue more confused. But basically, everything is here. Double check that. And this core directory, I think the CiviWiki directory should be merged in the core. Let me check the settings for the default user accounts. delete this old data. Huh. This would be a good chance to switch to a custom user model. I wonder to what extent. A lot of this code could be deprecated. We do, I guess, want to reserve some usernames. Try to avoid regex where possible. There are built-in password validation middleware that we should just use. This is a kind of big. Let's try that. This may be redundant. I don't know exactly. I think a lot of this will go away if we just switch to the built-ins. All that custom code may be redundant even to mention, but we've got all these login, logout, password change, reset. Yeah, very good. Yeah, and they're class-based. So I think this is gonna save us some hassle. Our project is doing, the 95% of what Django is designed for. So why not just use it? We're not really fighting the Django framework at this point. We're just reinventing parts of it. Or let's see, we're already using forms. We might as well just use the views as well. So very good. We just don't need to shadow so many of the methods. The forms and views are two sides of the same thing. All right. Keep jumping to the wrong file. Where I want the password validator. That's where it just was. All right, this is already pretty big. Dang. Yeah, it's the code. There's one issue. Again, what we're trying to do is just align with Django conventions, remove our kind of bespoke code that's not adding value and it's not part of the core business or domain logic of CiviWiki, and get on with the interesting parts that make our app unique. User authentication is not an interesting part. It's just kind of necessity. And Django handles that fairly gracefully. So let's go with that. And also we're going to be upgrading to Django 3.2. So we might need to just aligning our authentication code with a conventional Django conventions might make our upgrade process smoother. All right, so I'm going to go a little bit longer than I was anticipating. Here it is, actually. I don't know why I didn't find that before. So we already have a custom user model. It's a little bit confusing. I see. No, yeah, we are using. Yeah, so this is a good separation in that we're moving, like a user account is very thin and just used for authentication and account. It's more like a profile. We'll remove this, all these personal data. This is separate task stuff. All right. So not sure who needs account manager, but okay. I'm going to leave this open because more or less we're going to need that. Whoops. To include. Just top control page? No. And can you put a little emoji in here? I think they got emojis, right? Nice. Very cool. That's helpful. Let's do more info. Very cool. All right. So I think that's about it. This is just a model related task. This one's huge. All right. Huh. think I already got this one. 39. Yeah. 76. The property. That's it. Oh, hello, Camilo. Welcome to the live hangout from Colombia. Nice. Yeah, I need to learn better English too. I'm still practicing. Oh, really? Okay, so you're doing a lot. Oops, I've got the title wrong here. We're actually not doing Wagtail WordPress migration, WordPress Wagtail migration, but I can help you out. What are your, what's your progress on the migration task? I think Wagtail to WordPress is fairly well paved. The Drupal to WordPress, Drupal to Wagtail is, you have to write a lot of custom code because Drupal is a content management system, and you can define any arbitrary content type with any kind of fields. Same thing with Wagtail. So you just have to be able to map your fields from Drupal to Wagtail. And there may be similar custom code needed for WordPress. But let's take a look at this. WordPress, though, isn't maybe a content management custom content types that aren't really, I don't want to overstate something, but I think they're still not kind of first-class concepts in WordPress. You can define custom content types, but I don't believe the platform is, it's not built from the ground up to extend beyond the pages and posts, but they have done significant work, I'm sure, in the last 10 years since I used it closely, eight or so years. But essentially, yeah, you need to, and it depends on what version of WordPress you're migrating from. Are you using the Gutenberg editor? It's going to be something that's more aligned with the Wagtail stream field, so that might make your life a little bit easier. And that's what I did, this WordPress to Django migration a little bit later, and exported data from WordPress, parsed it. Shortcode. In any case, Camilo, if you're still in the chat, let me know what your status is on the migration. Are you just in the planning phase, or have you already started writing code? I can help you along the way. This hasn't been maintained in a while. But if you have Wagtail classes that resemble or align with or map to the WordPress classes, it might be almost a database dump and then load. Post a page. Yeah, and then the management commands. This actually looks pretty promising. To be honest, I would recommend seeing if you can start with this Wagtail project as a basis, and if needed, we can kind of revive this project. I think that's a common thing coming from WordPress and Drupal and maybe Joomla over to Wagtail space. Okay, sorry for any delay in replying, but let me know if you're still in the chat. Just update the stream metadata. Forgot to do that. Very cool. Very cool. Let's see if this has been forked or anything. So it is what it is. Now, but suppose the WordPress data model, if you're not defining custom data types, hasn't changed substantially. So this might just work for you, this management command. Based on so they're parsing the XML export, looks like. And supporting Python 2, which is not maybe necessary anymore. Yeah, and they're just shadowing these models. Oh, yeah. Huh, this is cool. And it looked like they were even mapping the stream field. I don't know when the Gutenberg editor landed. Okay, so all right, we'll come back to that. All right, so I think we're pretty much done with the location-related fields from user account profiles. Right now we're at just over 1 hour. I think I'll probably call it good. Actually, let me just finish the selected representatives. From the top, I think this is actually more part of this. Hopefully we won't have too much overlap. The location-based fields, let me just go back to that location fields and change the okay, yes, I did that. So we went actually to 123. There are even sort of plans on keyword tagging, which could be useful for finding similar users, but then using artificial intelligence or some machine learning. I think these are examples of project getting ahead of itself and not even testing its basic assumptions about usability before adding fairly complex features. Same. I should actually just merge this in. Whereas I've got two things. Legislation and elected representatives. They're two sides of the same thing. I don't know if they need to be two issues, or at least they should have the same person. Closely related. Legislation, elected representatives. All right. It's a big tangle. Legislation and representatives. I guess called a signal, not a hook. I don't know. Mixing up my terminology. All right, so there's a count. So these partials can be converted over to Django syntax. Except these are going to be removed. Let's do this one. So these are bills, legislation. Issues are different. Go to the one above there. think I already got these 120, probably 127. Yep. Yeah, I think we got this already. Okay. Let's see if I can location. Take that. All right, and the final one. I'm gonna need this. I already basically did that. $18 ago. This is the pull request review portion. Removed a lot of code. Yes. Side by side makes it easier. Split. All right. So basically, yes. We'll need registration routes, but we'll come back to that. They won't need to do that as part of this pull request. So yeah, I slacked off on a bit. I didn't catch that, or I did. It did come up in my notifications. I didn't quite get to it in time, so my bad. Just delete this. Let me double check one other thing. We've got a model change. We've got to get that migration in here. Let me double check. See if that's actually. Let's see if I've got that. Very cool. All right, so we'll go and do a little bit of a recap. Closed beta, legislation, application, count model. Looking good. Hello and welcome to the recap of today's live code session on codebuddies.org. Today we were working on some project maintenance or stewardship related tasks for the CiviWiki project, Open CiviWiki. We have, the project has been kind of dormant for a few years, for a while now, and trying to reboot the project and simplify it. To that end, we've created a milestone and basic roadmap for a 2.0 release, where we want to kind of remove some big ideas that crept into the code, refactor things, and simplify down, remove the SPA model from the app, just consolidate it to a monolithic Django code base, potentially with some kind of Ajax related to parts of the project that are dynamic. In today's session, I reviewed several tasks we've labeled here in our roadmap as good first issues, help wanted, and where we've received interest from new contributors. In each of the tasks, I went through the CiviWiki code base and looked for related code that would need to be basically removed. This is a big housekeeping initiative mostly. So a lot of lines of code will be removed, features that maybe aren't kind of core to what makes CiviWiki unique, and that also make it too United States centric and reduce its usefulness in communities outside of the United States political system, or even in communities who are disenfranchised with the political system in the United States. And overall, those features relating to location and legislation actually might be some of the ones that are most harmful to the project in terms of, well, not only usefulness or relevancy, but also just complexity. So let me organize my tabs a little bit here. These features also, in terms of complexity, have required integrating third-party data sources, which is inherently complex. And I believe it pushed the project beyond its sustainable bounds. So that aside, I opened a request for comment. Didn't receive any comments really, but we're going to go ahead and proceed with this, given that there is outside interest or new contributors are interested in joining the CiviWiki community and contributing code or ideas. Juhi Lee, also one of the core contributors to the project, did give a general thumbs up and contribute to the organization of the project continuation roadmap. So I believe we're on good track. We're not The project's been dormant for a while. I think it's good time to reboot it and simplify things. All of the code that's been contributed for these legislation-related features, including bills and elected officials, all of that's in our Git commit history. We might remove the database migrations from the latest branch. But in any case, if we need to restore these features, we'll be able to as well. So I'm kind of also following Juhi's lead in terms of how the project roadmap has been evolved. And we're grateful to have new contributors to sustain the initiative. So that's a basic overview of the what and why of today's code session. If you'd like to get involved with this or similar projects, you can stop by github.com/CiviWiki open. CiviWiki is the name of the project. You can check out any of these tasks where we've labeled them as help wanted or good first issue, and in particular tasks that are on our 2.0 milestone, as mentioned previously. You can also stop by codebuddies.org and get involved with other communities and join hangouts relating to other projects. There's a lot of ongoing hangouts for everything from Python, Golang, data structures, HTML, web development, just hanging out in general, working on stuff. There's also groups for almost any kind of interest relating mostly to, as you can see, programming, development, but also mathematics, philosophy, and teaching, peer learning as well. So I thank you very much for your time. It's been nice to have people active in the Hangout chat on both YouTube and CodeBuddies Jitsi Meet. Hope to see you around again soon. Have a great day.